Morning, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Looking good, brother.
Thank you.
Like are we live?
We are.
We might
We
be.
are live.
We might
We're
be.
live. I feel alive. Do y'all feel alive?
Well, you just made us feel alive.
I'm alive. That's right.
How's everybody doing?
We're live.
Enjoying the morning.
We're live.
We got it going on, man. We got it going on.
Finally
Just
got
got back
the
from
snow.
a little ride on the side by side with my son. We went down the road and looked at this property that's for sale that was right next to where my father was raised and all of his siblings. Beautiful property. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. And we took the dog and we went down there and looked at it and walked it, and we're calling that in, to be able to possibly purchase that.
Nice. That'd be sweet.
All
Be an
land.
intentional of visualization of the finances that will come and how that'll work out and how we can actually purchase that if that's the Father's perfect will for us to have that. It's 16 acres.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
have, or does it have
Just to have.
property on it?
I- Possibly one day down the road we could sell this and build there, but on 16 acres there would be enough room for if Neil wanted one day to sell this and build there, and the boys could build there, and just to have an investment too.
That's
So
great. Come on.
When you do something like that, obviously there's some type of carrying costs for real estate, property taxes, whatever type of forestry maintenance. I don't know what's there. Do you factor that in? Do you know what that looks like to maintain that?
yes, there will be a property tax for it. Both my husband and Neil, um, from being the veterans that they are, we could be tax exempt if they live on it. So,
Hmm.
like, we live here, we don't pay property tax for this.
Wow.
Um,
Cool.
Interesting.
but I don't know that I don't think it's just on property. I think it's on your house. It's not on land tax, it's on the property tax with the house, living on it. And you have to live there. It can't be a piece of rental property.
Right.
So if we lived there and we had a house on it, Neil had a house on it, both of those properties would be tax exempt.
Huh.
So
So there's no taxes on land.
If you're a
there
veteran.
is here.
Oh.
So if there's no
She means
if there's no
on the
real property on
house.
it, there's still a tax. So if there's no dwelling, there's still tax.
Yes.
They would have to be, yeah, because I get taxed on the valuation of my property, which includes the land.
Hmm.
So there would be some. Yeah, boy, that's great. I didn't know that was a veteran perk.
100% disability perk.
Great. Come
Hmm.
on. They serve.
Okay.
They serve.
Yeah. Not just a veteran. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, because I know property taxes are I live in a lower property tax area. Mine are like 2,500 a year, and that's low. I know in some places it's extremely high. It's low up there in
Yeah, I
the
pay
Northwest too, right?
Yep, pay I think about 900 a year.
Oh,
And that's for 5 acres?
Yeah,
wow. Yeah.
That's
I'm sitting on a
interesting.
third
Good
of
to
an acre in
know.
a subdivision, paying 2,500 and thinking I was doing good. I gotta get out of here, man.
Yeah, that sounded a little high to me, Eric. I don't know what we pay. Because we get a tax exemption a little bit, and then you pay on the rest. But what's happened, you used to not pay any tax, you were tax exemption.
Mm-hmm.
But as the housing went up, the tax exemption didn't. So it used to be, okay, anything under 100,000, and nobody's house was over 100,000.
Right.
So you were tax exempt. Well, now you don't have a house for 100,000.
Mhm.
So everyone pays the taxes now.
We get 50% cut. Our taxes are halved in the first primary house on the property, regardless of just anybody in Idaho gets that. So if you have two houses, you get the full tax on the other house, but the first one you get 50% less.
Nice.
And they have it separated out, property and the land and the house separate. We actually get taxed more on the land than we get on the house, even with the 50% cut.
So is it 900? That's the total for the house
That's the
and
total.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Still not bad though. I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what it's going to be for when we move to Cali. Like, oh my gosh, everything.
Everything's high in
Yeah,
Cali.
oh, car insurance.
Gas,
Yeah.
electric.
Yep. Yep. So
Huh.
we'll see.
Property taxes comprise 32% of total state and local tax collections in the United States.
Yeah.
So a third of government funding is provided by property taxes.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
In our area, what people are running into is they can afford their house note to purchase a house. They cannot afford the escrow. They cannot afford the insurance and the property tax. And my state is broken up by parishes. So the parish that I live in is the highest. Like people are leaving this area and going 20 minutes into Mississippi because it's cheaper to live there.
interesting.
So when that happens, have they come to the realization that we're in a Ponzi scheme and everything is a shakedown and property taxes are a shakedown?
They are.
Everyone's
Man,
always
yeah.
complaining.
Okay,
Yeah, they're
I'm just
feeling it.
asking. I'm not trying to
Right.
trigger
They're
anybody.
they're
I'm just
they're
like,
they're awake.
You're not triggering here.
Why are we even paying that? And why is our taxes so high? And you're causing people to move out and where the tax money even going?
Yeah.
Now, there's the big one right there. All right? Because I like roads. I really don't want to have to lay asphalt to drive my butt to the grocery store, right? So that's a legitimate, reasonable use for taxes, all right? You know, you love them, hate them, whatever. Somebody's got to build the roads. I'm willing to pitch in for that, at least.
And the
wait,
But
schools.
they don't get fixed.
you will,
You know,
you
like
will,
here in
you
South
will.
Carolina, there's been scandal for years. Like, where all these millions of dollars going? The roads aren't getting fixed, and then they're asking for more money. And it's like, no, buddy, where's the last mill I gave you?
Exactly.
Why I still need four-wheel drive to get down the main thoroughfare right now? You know, the potholes are so big, we're missing motorcyclists. Like, it's a legitimate concern, and then they're asking for more money. But these are good questions. Like, all right, I'm with you. Let's abolish all the taxes. I still like roads. I still like cops. I
That's
still
what
like.
Those aren't gonna go
that's what
anywhere.
tariffs are for.
Yeah, dude. Look at
Come on, man.
we had roads before they were
I'm asking the
property
question. Give me the
taxes.
answer. I'm good.
There were roads before property taxes. There was
All right, how they
was
get paid for then?
accessibility. Yeah, I mean
How they get paid for?
I think it's a straw man argument to say that roads will disappear if we lose property taxes
No,
or that
they
certain
won't
services.
disappear.
It won't.
They're not getting fixed with property taxes. So the question is, how does it work?
It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. I'd like to not be forced to pay taxes. I mean, that's Roman culture. That's like this centurion coming down to my street and knocking on my door and say, "Hey, give to Caesar what's tribute." Like, no, dude.
So we have our roads
away.
paid for by our economy. The fact that we're consuming and international tariffs would pay for our infrastructure if we didn't have a completely bloated government, which we have. Obviously. I mean, that's a whole thing. But like the idea of this new Doge department, the Department of Government Efficiency. All right, hack and slash, baby. We're ready. We're so far, we're decades past ready. So
Yeah.
the proposal is that tariffs would pay for the infrastructure for all 50 states. There's enough international commerce coming in through the ports to pay for that.
But then it gets more complicated than that because you're slashing. And this is just where I just like a hill is like I'm dying on, but I'm not dying.
Man, listen.
You're slashing fake money.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
True. So
You're
if you wanna-
slashing. Let's
Right.
just be on. Let's have an honest conversation because all of this is going to come out, and I'm not going to use the Bitcoin card anymore because everybody's like, oh, I guess that like speculate. It's just showing how worthless and how bad the Ponzi scheme is.
Mm-hmm.
It's
our
like I'm
infrastructure
just.
is a Ponzi scheme without a
It
doubt.
is so print the taxes. We don't have to just print.
Right. In
Just
other words,
what
the
they're
money you're
gonna
gaining
do.
from people, you're printing more money than you get. So yes, if we use the current system as broken as it is, we can just write checks, and instead of sending it overseas and wasting it on internal BS, we might get some water pipes that aren't 50 years old busting, some gas pipes that don't leak, some roads that are flat. Imagine that, and some decent social help. You can keep the opposing party happy. Like, we're not going to just abandon people in the streets. Let's print some money and do something good with it. At least that's a beginning, right? That's a first level. Working within a broken, corrupted system, at least make it work for people that are sitting in it and paying the bill by inflation. I get that, but wiping that clean, like starting over from scratch. No more printed money. No more Fed. No more BS. If we were starting this country from scratch, there's enough money for tariffs to build our infrastructure. That's a pretty heavy statement that says our value globally as an economy. We not only producing our own stuff, we buy enough stuff from other places that they can finance our infrastructure. That's pretty wild. I never thought of that. I never thought
You
that
got to
was a thing.
remember though that it's not going to be a quick fix.
Oh no, none of this is.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, because the hope is so high right now,
Oh yeah.
everything but this is still going to take time and
And there's
effort.
people not going to cooperate.
Yeah, and so
Oh yeah, I
That's
mean
the
they haven't
whole
even been
conflict.
confirmed yet. There's supposed to be a vote on all these people that Trump's choosing, and it sounds wonderful. It's like this just dream team, depending on which side you're viewing it from, and whether or not you believe Getz is a pedophile or all the crazy hype that goes around all this stuff.
Don't believe any of this stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's really. Yeah, there's everyone's gonna be angry and ignore the talking heads, like pretend they don't exist. But that's pretty wild that that potential is there, and we're dreaming right now.
it's really cool. And it's going to take more than 4 years to get. I mean, we're going to get a lot of momentum going, hopefully. And we thought we had a lot of momentum. We see how fast momentum could be stopped by the next administration.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, the way that the economy was going from 2016 to, or whenever Trump was in there last, I mean, the economy was bumping, booming, da 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 da. First day
Yeah.
of the administration, I mean, they put the kibosh on so many stuff, and it just like stalled everything.
Yeah.
What kind of business is that? Hello.
But and it's amazing how prosperity and abundance is a balm for your ideological crankiness. There'll be a lot of more quiet voices like, yeah, I don't like the way this is going, but I can afford to live now.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But
Yeah.
they forgot really quick.
Yeah.
Like the left, I mean, they're complaining about all this stuff. It's just like, don't you remember how good you had it 4 years ago before
No.
your administration came in and just
No, the
tossed
election cycle
everything out?
proves that they don't. No one remembers anything.
Those hearts are
It's all
fickle,
in the
man.
moment right now. Do I hurt? I want change.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my gosh. Just look at your gas prices
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and your budget just in gas. Just like, okay, let's, and now, I mean, gas prices are starting to drop now. It's,
What was
so
that? I've heard like the missionary thing. Empty bellies have deaf ears. Like we know this is a concept, and so when people are cranky,
yeah.
they're and hurting, they're going to be dissatisfied with everything.
Well, hope deferred makes the heart sick.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you have, a ungodly, unrighteous reign. The hope, that's the whole point. I mean, the devil's smart. Get rid of the hope, then you get rid of the dreams. And then everybody's sick, and then everything just goes down. And so that's the name of his game. Steal, kill, and destroy.
Lowering the frequency because
Yeah.
hope has such a high frequency. If you lower the frequency of
Yeah.
hope, then you've got trauma sitting somewhere within your body. If you've got trauma
Exactly.
sitting within your body, probably in the heart area, well,
Hmm.
then it's going to cause a lower frequency. Everything of that lower frequency is going to be attached to that, will be drawn to you. And every organ where that trauma is set and all the tissues and systems in that area is going to resonate with that same lower frequency within your body. It's going to affect you, it's going to affect your biofield, and it's going to affect those that are around you. So it's just a domino effect. You get rid of that trauma, you get that hope back so that you're able to get the hope back. But if you
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
release the trauma and get that frequency out of the body, you're still attracted to the hope deferred. And
Yes.
there's attraction. So when you get rid of that, then you're able to pull out of that hope deferred into a place of hope, and
Mhm.
then your body is healed, you're healed, the resonate your body will resonate in that frequency because we're energy beings, we resonate, we're
On.
and we're energetic, we got a biofield, and then so that's how the enemy does. He wants to affect, and if he can affect the whole people and domino that effect, and then you've got the sickness, you've got that, you've got all that going on in the body, you've got it going out of the biofield, it's affecting the people around you, and you get that in a number of people, and he's covering a whole wide
Yep.
area of destruction, of killing, stealing, and destroying.
So let me add on to that too. So I've been reading the book Biology of Belief with Dr. Bruce Lipton. And one of the things I read a little bit this morning, this is just kind of how I learn. I kind of take a chunk or a chapter or a paragraph and just like, wow, that's really cool. So here's a question, because Boston C didn't know this. So we know that let's talk about the soul body and the gateways, right? That the mature sons know, right? Consciousness, reason. And then when it comes to the mind, there's the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the non-conscious mind, right? And then you have imagination, emotion, will, and choice. Now come back to the mind. So so here's the question. Uh, Comparing the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, out of the two, which one is more powerful and by how much? Let me ask
Subconscious.
what is it?
By no subconscious.
Yep.
By how much?
But it's overwhelming much.
Dude,
Yeah.
dude, hold on. So let me just go for a second. So wait a minute, hold on. Okay. Because like we're in control. I'm in control of my conscious mind. Boston, see, I do what I do. I'm in control.
That's
So my
debatable.
conscious mind, I'm in control. Oh, but wait a minute, hold on, there's more. So now I'm reading, you're telling me that my subconscious mind that I'm conscious of, listen,
I
your
know.
subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful than your donkey conscious mind. So wait
Oh,
a
yeah.
minute, there's more.
That's what.
This is scientist. This is neuroscience, right? Scientific fact. Your conscious mind
as we know it today.
is functioning 5% of the time, you behaviorally are responding to the 95% of the activity of whatever's going on in the subconscious 95% of the time. But in your infinite wisdom as a conscious being, you're like, oh, what are you talking about? If I want to do this, nobody tells me what to do, dude. So I'm thinking now, I'm looking at, I'm like, so my subconscious is really driving this Boston sea ship.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Wait. So you're telling me that the things that I'm doing, I'm not really, my conscious mind is only 5% of the decision? That the 95% of my subconscious of the glacier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait a minute.
Well, Paul says
Well,
it.
wait.
Paul speaks to it. He says, "I don't do what I want to do, and I do what I don't want to do." Well, that's it right
Because
there.
he's operating out of his subconsciousness when he wants to be conscious and doing the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah, we operate out of
Because
the
in the
story we're telling
subconscious
about
is all
ourselves.
programmed, already programmed by
But
us.
here's the good news. Can instantly be, and this is what we've been doing as mature ones. We've been rewriting,
Right.
feeding ourselves,
Mhm.
and we haven't really recognized the power of what's been happening in our subconscious. It gets listen, and think about this. The expression of who we really are. So let me I throw it because my mind's going to go. Now I know where the mind of Christ is.
Mhm.
Take those thoughts
Oh, wait a
captive.
minute. Hold on. There's more. So when you get love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and goodness, you think we're going to get something. I got to go get more love. I got to go. No. Nope. A big love is trying to get more of you. Well, wait a minute. He's trying to get, like, we don't know who we are because Yahweh is wanting to eat more of us. So because we're more of him, we think we got to do this and go get this to be more like big love. Big love is trying to get
Out of the
into,
belly flows the
oh,
living water. Out of you is who you are. That's the thing. We got to let this.
he's trying to, so the love that we just, oh, you got to get more big love Yahweh in you. Yeah, no, you gotta rewrite your subconscious mind and say, you know what? We've been looking at this thing all the wrong way. We're trying to get, more self-control. And he's like, dude, let me get my self-control inside of your subconscious. Let's do a trade-off. Instead of trying to get more of me and my self-control, allow me to come into your subconscious mind and give you my self-control that you somehow don't. Then you're going to wake up and say, man, how did I get like more patient and self-control? As if your conscious mind is trying to figure out how you did it. Like, yay, get up every day, spoken tongues, read the word, beat it, Buddha, 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 Buddha. That's why I keep saying, when do we get out of the way and Yahweh starts talking? How do you, this is getting really
that's what it's
good.
for. That's the idea of Christ is the one that goes into the piercing of the subconscious, into the tensions and the desires of the heart, the core of your being. He goes in to tame the wild places, which are in your subconscious. You go into partnership with him, but it's not through this protocol and methodology process. It's in the engaging with him on a daily, just relationship, spending time with him, like just hanging out. And in the rubbing off of that engagement,
Is
he
biology.
imparts, he goes in, he reveals, he exposes, he imparts himself into those places. And the chaos, right? This is Genesis 1:1, speaking into the chaos, bringing order. That's what we do in partnership with him. So that when we have brought and tamed the subconscious of our being under the mind of Christ, then what flows out is the life of Christ through our conscious expression. It's just the conscious mind is just the gateway, the gatehouse
Never
for
thought of it
that
like that.
whole hurricane, that whole
Yep.
storm that's inside.
Yep.
So it's not enough to do mantras. It's not enough to speak words, although those are important. Because right intention, and I just put a post out this morning. The new daily bread is to stare. And it's the idea of this container that has the seed that you stare into, that is the seed bed, the holder of what is inside you to manifest. So like the intention, right, of your stare into the subconscious to plant the seed of transformation that then will come and manifest through the conscious and through our words and our the eyes of our heart, right? The speech of our mouth, the deeds of our hands as the outflow from the journey into the subconscious to engage in a transformation with Christ.
Exactly.
As the sword, as the divider of those deep places, penetrating, discerning, transforming.
So could you say the subconscious, because we're mixing disciplines here, spirit and psychology, is the subconscious the soul?
Yeah. Subconscious and conscious, based on just what, you go to Ian's, Clayton's gates circle, that's where they sit, is in the subconscious ring. Or the soul ring, subconscious, conscious. Some people say unconscious. I don't take to that field, but those gates sit there. They're right there
Okay,
in the
so
middle.
self-conscious, subconscious. It's the same word. That's that inner ring. Or that, yeah, and the spirit is God consciousness.
And that's his take on it, right? I mean,
Right.
the reality is this stuff is like enigmatic sometimes. It flows in and out, and it's a tool to help us, but let's not build a doctrine around it.
Right. Well, we're at Lewis and Clark level of discovery and mapping when it comes to this stuff. It's okay. But
The beauty,
it just
like,
gives a
yeah,
handle for my conscious
sure.
mind to grasp onto it.
Well, and this is what Father showed me about the subconscious. The subconscious is connected to his subconscious. It is the Rosenberg bridge between the chaos or the obscure, the koshek of him and the koshek of mine. And so if I want to engage with his koshek, I have to go through my koshek and bridge that gap. And
That's
so
good.
I've been spending time in my koshek,
That's good.
bridging the
That's
gap
my
into
mystery.
his koshek and bringing like I'm pulling from his koshek into mine and speaking. And he's teaching me how to speak order into that.
So just to add on to that, because we've talked about, oh, wait a minute, we have what? A right hemisphere and a left hemisphere in your head. You got two spheres, right? One's usually the left side's more analytical, the right side's like more creative, and you got people that are trapped in one half of their brain. They live there. Left, right. You ever see it get expressed in, like, let's use politics. Anybody cross the aisle? The what? The corpus callosum, the bridge. Take a freaking field trip and go to the other side every once in a while and get to know your other side. So when you're telling me this is how it's like when I get a bone, and I've heard you talk about the subconscious, and right, but when you tell me that, because you're thinking like consciously, I want a sandwich. Like you're in control and you go make yourself a sandwich. Like you're the brilliant guy. No, the 5% of you wanting this image, you didn't, it's the 95%, your subconscious that has the cellular memory that's telling the 5% of you who you think who you are. I think it's just like, because here's the deal. Because epigenetically, you can rewrite
Mhm.
and you can engage in all what you're talking about at the spiritual and so here's another question. So depression, anger, hatred, envy, fear, lust. I wonder where all those little jabrones freaking live. Oh, wait a minute. I think they're living in the dust of my subconscious.
Mhm. Floating
And
around.
they're speaking to me in my voice, first person, and it's coming out my conscious 5% brain. So when you start to focus on the 95% now, is what I'm saying, that's where they're sitting. They're sitting when we've talked about they're sitting in the gateways, the emotion, the imagination. But you know what? Let's talk science, because let's talk neuroscience. It's a fact. Your subconscious is a million times more powerful than your conscious mind. It's running the freaking show.
So how do they measure that?
I don't know yet, bro.
Okay.
Let's find out and talk about it, because this is where these are keys that we're going to be spiritually, like when Tina just goes, does her deal and unlocks and gets people on the path. For me, this is really helping me understand
Right.
where I'm sitting, who I am, what I am. Go, bro.
I was trying to get my hand actually to do what you did. Raise your hand. But my thought was, the whole, what did you say, the corpus, this thing right here?
The
We
bridge.
always talk about, the kingdom of heaven is like we always say it's really, it's like the door to heaven is such a small, or the highway to heaven is such a small deal to actually get in.
Narrow. Narrow
Narrow.
pathway, yeah.
We could actually think of that as the narrow deal right here, that actually if we would get on the
Yep.
highway
Yep.
and take that,
Yep.
it would take us to
Yep.
where we need to go.
Yep.
That's why the vagus nerve and everything is such a huge deal. What stays in the vagus nerve, stays. It's like it is so important. That's why Yeshua, I mean, we as the church, we're so disformed and dysfunctional because we are over here and we should be over here. We're like this and we're trying to be this and we're like, okay, what do we do? And we're monsters out there. And we've atrophied so much. And that's the thing. That's why the 5%, the conscious, we've atrophied. It should be it shouldn't be like that. It should be, equal, just like we have here to where we're crossing all the time.
But that's happening
Right.
in the
That's the
subconscious. It has
Right.
to be, you have to live out of
Yes.
the mind of Christ. You've got to live out of your subconscious and not
Yeah.
your conscious mind. Your
Yeah.
conscious mind, for me, is an expression of what's happening. That's how you
Which
can
they would
see
say
people.
get rid of the mind
This is open. This is
because it's
good.
not really the
well,
mind,
it's a
art.
I think part of the problem is our Western thinking again. We've
Yes.
tried
Yes.
to
We're
Yes.
still
Yes.
talking
separate
about meat.
out the spiritual and the
Yes.
physiology. And the reality is that's not true. It's they're blended. So
Yeah.
when we talk about the subconscious, we're not just talking about the spiritual and soulish implications and the imagined engagement.
Yeah.
There's also the physiological side of subconscious that allows you to drive down the road 30 minutes without you even realizing you've been driving
Yeah.
because you're off on some other avenue of your brain and your body is taking over the steering wheel. And the subconscious is engaging in the cellular level where you're not telling where your cells to go. You're not telling your heart to pump. You're not telling
Yeah.
your chest to breathe. Your subconscious mind is engaged in the physiology of your breath, your body. It's woven in and the spiritual and the physical are so woven that it's difficult. And I think that's probably what man is trying to do, is understand the physiology so much to discard the spiritual. And by
Right, because we
doing
can't
that,
measure it.
you can't come to a true reality, because you're missing a key part to why we move and breathe and have our being. Because there's a continual flow from the spiritual realm through our subconscious, through our emotions, through that imagination that impacts the conscious, impacts the physiology of our body. And it's so blended, you can't separate it. There, as much as we want to dissect in our sciences, you can't. It's like a gradient. You tell me where the two colors stop. You know, where if you got red and blue and they become purple, you tell me where red starts and blue starts.
Right.
You know, red stops here. No, it's so gradient.
Purple
It's
doesn't
the
even
gradient
exist.
is so that it's difficult to know. And so this is like right and left, right? Math and science, arts. Arts is very spiritual. Arts is very, I mean, it's funny because math is so, but there's the blending over the gradients, so that the need to continue and be okay with the blending, because I think people have a hard time. They want everything concrete and boxed and shaped into a science format,
Well, if you
and
circle
it's not
around the
always that way.
airport here, you got the seven spirits. Geez, I wonder where wisdom hangs out like a lot of times, and where the fear, the big love. And it's like, man, I'll tell you, this is getting really interesting. I just love this mystical stuff that we're connecting the dots, and science is really, it's really opening up, man. I just think that I just find it fascinating because I've never looked at my subconscious. You know, you change habits and you want to do more of this and less of that. And for me, it's just, I think it's been my, like, the power, my will that is like discipline, but I'm my vantage, not saying it's been a disadvantage or an advantage, but my vantage has been that I've been doing that out of my conscious mind. And it's, that's not true. It's the
Oh,
habitual things that we do every day, the cue. The cue. We've been like, when you deal with your quantum entanglements and your assignments, and I'm going to be more patient and more loving, and it's that is what's generating the power plant. I just never looked at it that it's 95% of what's who I am and what I'm doing. And then I
You know
just
how they
start.
measure that, right? You know how they measure that. It's not the, they don't measure the cause. They measure the effect.
the
So
behavior.
when the
Yes,
behavior, so when they say think about love, they got you hook up to those wires, and they measure the physiological response to you thinking
got
and
it.
you emoting love, right? It's like trying to find black hole in space. Well, they're not actually looking at the black hole, they're looking at the absence of something, the cause, the effect of the cause. That's how they measure the subconscious, say it's so massive, because the outflow, the effect of the subconscious is significant,
Yeah, we
and it
haven't created.
overwhelms even the measure of the conscious effort.
We don't have a spirit thermometer yet. We're still looking at the flashing light, like that whole corpus callosum. You know, that's still just looking at meat. That's still the top of the lake. It's the meat. And I know, hey, if we get both hemispheres of this brain to work together, the outcome produces this. So you can't have this conversation because we're already in the weeds. You can't have this conversation scientifically because we're already in the weeds. There's no measurement. There's still, it's dark matter. It's as ephemeral as dark matter. Like, we know that there is a shape that underlies what we can measure, but we can't even measure that shape. We just know that it's huge because
Right.
the math doesn't work out. I mean,
Well,
it's
this is
just
the
even
beauty.
just
Like,
focusing on the brain itself.
Christ talks about this. He talks about the fruit. Paul talks about this. How do we know the character of someone? How do we know the subconscious frameworks of someone? By their fruit, which takes time, right? Fruit to produce.
Yeah.
So it's wild because, again, science is starting to support what we already know.
Yeah.
We want to reject the sayings of Christ, the biblical principles, because it doesn't fit into our narrative. But it's proven again and again and again. And it's actually more simple to explain it the way Christ did than us trying to sit down with, men and women in science jackets and say, well, because of all this, da, 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 da. I mean, the simplest is judge a man by the fruit, their character by the fruit, what they produce, the behavior. That'll reveal to you, the subconscious constructs, intuitiveness, right? That Chris has talked about, the intuition. When we are intuitive about the nature of somebody, we pick up on the behavioral attitude and response, the effect of what's inside of somebody, and we can discern what's going on in their subconscious. Yeah, you talk a pretty, you have elegant speech, but behind you are dead man's bones. I can tell it. I can tell by the other body language, by other frequency resonating out of you. You got something bad inside your core, man. I ain't gonna listen to your pretty words anymore. And that is that's judging the fruit. That's discerning what's coming out of the subconscious that's being produced out of the whole of that person.
So
And
now
we've just
let's
got to the point where we can measure that there is activity before the conscious awareness of stimulation. Like that's where we've gotten. Like there's activity in the brain before you're aware of the stimulus. So what is that? And that leads some people to believe that there's no such thing as free will. Because, well, the spirit doesn't exist because I can't measure it. It looks as though you're behaving before you're aware that you're behaving. So you are not making that decision. You're late to the game. So there is no such thing as free will. We are simply reacting to stimuli at a level below consciousness. So everything you do is not by your will.
but
And
the
you're
genesis
just-
of the genesis of the
Of the
stimuli
free will.
is the
Yes,
thought.
free will is action.
Is the
Right.
thought. So
Is
there's
the
your
thought.
free
The thought's
there's your
consciousness.
there's your free will.
What does he always say? What does he say? I judge the heart of men. Men judge the outward
Subconscious.
appearance, but I judge the
The
subconscious.
frequency
because
of the heart,
that's
the
where
energetic
the free
sound, the
will
frequency,
sits.
the light.
Yeah, the
That's
free
why he
will
knows
sits
who
in the
it is.
subconscious. That's where it's made.
Yeah.
That's where the idea sits. That's where it's created in the seedbed of thought. The idea is created in the subconscious, then becomes a thought in the brain, and then a speech and action of the body. But the free will sits in the subconscious, not in the conscious.
No.
So we still have free will,
Yes.
but we don't allow the influences that we let sit in our subconscious influence our free will. We didn't give it up, right? But we don't realize that we're trying to put a band-aid on it by controlling our outward behavior, not realizing what sits inside is affecting our free will on a daily.
Dude, the first time I ran into this, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So that's why it's important to discover the subconscious, right? To begin to tame it, to speak order to it, and bring light into the subconscious, because you want to free your free will from the grips of the fallen ones who are running you like a marionette puppet.
Yeah. I find it's like a stranger within me. It's a person I didn't know. That's really disconcerting. The first time that rocked me was I think it was in my 30s. And I was in a men's group. We were talking about lust. And there was this story about this guy that was addicted to porn. And his wife, they don't get together at all. And she had some major body issues, like some real issues. All right, let's just be straight. Like as far as you can get from the centerfold as possible. And he was disgusted by his wife. And when he decided to make a conscious effort to honor the relationship and allow no other influences to come in, he was surprised at how he physically found her attractive after a period of time. And I was pissed. I'm like, wait a minute. So I find that shape attractive because of other influences? Like, no, man. I like cheeseburgers. You telling me that somebody else made me like cheeseburgers? This stranger inside of me is running the show? And I'm like, no, I find that appealing. But but why do I? Who is the I? Dude, it wrecked me. I was at an existential crisis. I'm like, I'm going freaking nuts. Like, I'm not driving? What do you mean I'm not driving? It was a betrayal, man. Like, what's freaking real? Is it a product? Which is why I was being has been having so uh, uh, vicious about keeping my daughter off social media because I don't want her taste, her conscious mind polluted by that. I want her to at least be able to grow up. And I mean, I grew up without social media and it didn't work, but maybe at least I know I can help by because you see it, TikTok brain, it affects and they don't realize it. And even I mean, this is funny. My wife and I used to get in arguments because I would adapt the preferences of my friends, and it felt like such an emasculating perspective. Like, no, I am choosing to do these things. Well, it's only because you're hanging out with this guy. Like, I almost went to law school. I took the LSAT, was about to uproot my family. If I really admit it, it's because I was hanging out with a friend who went to law school. And he was really, but I didn't, I hated that. She's like, well, you just want to do that because of him. I'm like, no, I mean, hey, knock me down, punch me in the face over my preferences and choices, argue with me, that's fine, but don't accuse me of being a rubber stamp. It's such an affront to the idea that I'm not driving. And there's an element or a massive element of truth to that. But it's really uncomfortable because I feel deterministic. I feel like I choose.
Well, I think I'd like to reframe that because I think we are driving, but we don't understand that how we're driving. I think it's not saying somebody's in there in my head and moving my mouth like an arm, and a
Well, it
puppet's
was a
head.
stranger till I got to know him.
You are, yeah, if you were to meet your subconscious, you would feel like it was an alien. But
Yeah.
the reality is you're double-minded.
Yeah.
You have two minds, you're split, you're bipolar right now. And the way to
Thank you for
fix
that.
it is to go in and reintroduce yourself to yourself and figure out what the heck you're doing and learn how to drive from the right driver's seat.
Yeah. That's love.
Because you're driving, but you've got someone that's sitting in that seat. Well, you're sitting in that seat, but the influencer is so strong it feels like somebody's strange is a stranger
Absolutely.
because they're sitting and controlling you with ways that you don't realize you're being manipulated.
Yeah.
The subliminal messaging of those sitting in there are forcing you to make this left-hand turn, make that right-hand turn.
And
You need
sell
to
it like it
figure
was
out.
your idea.
Well, you remember what you talked about getting your junk, cleaning yourself, right? When he said after a certain point, something snapped and it was quiet. The reason why it was quiet
Yeah.
is because he took over the driver's seat, shut down the voices that were influencing him. And this is what I say is what you finally find this eternal peace, where it's just like you can sit still and nobody's talking.
Yeah.
Nothing's driving you. You're not edgy. You're not bouncing. You're not like, what do I got to do? You're not frantic about another thing. You're just calm because it's finally you have become Lord of your house, and the subconscious, even though you may have fully under hand, you have taken dominion enough for it's quiet enough. And I remember that when that happened, I'm like, dude, this is beautiful. Is it? I mean, part of it is I think all those nightmares and demonic attacks, like that stuff just stopped.
Yeah.
I
November
didn't realize how
2019.
much of those external, what I thought were external attacks, which I think they were, in addition, how much they were tied to my subconscious.
Yeah.
Right.
And when
And
I dealt with the internal with Christ, in that, like I see Christ, Yeshua, as this like safari guide. And he's like, let's go on safari. Let's go into the wilds of your subconscious and let's go tame it. And let's get in there. And let's become Tarzan, man. Let's become king of the jungle. And when we started on that, it just is like, there may be dragons. Well, they are. They're not maybe, they are. And we got to deal with them. And when we started doing that and begin to see transformation, that's when I felt like, wow, I really am controlling. How do I know? Because what comes out of my mouth, what comes out of my thoughts, my activities are starting to do what I want them to do. And I'm not going like dog back to his vomit again. I'm like, it's actually working.
yeah.
The things I want to do,
So there
the
is
thoughts I want to have, like rolling out of bed and saying, good morning, Father, giving you a hug. Like that's the first thing out of my mouth. It's the first thing in my thoughts. I'm not meeting fear at the gate. First thing I put my foot out, on the floor. It's like, this is my natural response because I've regained the subconscious. I'm taking dominion of the subconscious and the emotions that are tied in it, the imagination that's tied into it.
I just want to add, I guess that the revelation for me is so, and I get all that. I just never looked at it that it's 95% of the energy. And I'm
It's
like,
huge.
oh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just gave me a freaking bone right there.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, okay, so this is what's been going on in the subconscious. So, and then I'm not even necessarily there yet, and I'd like to read a book or whatever. So what happens with, and Dr. Caroline Leaf doesn't say the unconscious, she calls it the non-conscious. And I think it's, so what's going on there? I'm thinking, there's secrets, there's dark energy going on here, and the
Right.
non-conscious, the
Well,
spiritual.
that's right. Right. That's
Oh,
why I
I
don't use
see
the word
how this is working
unconscious.
out.
I
Don't
see,
take the
I
mark
don't
of the
use it
beast.
unconscious because
Where's the
Christ
mark of the
actually gives
beast?
us access to
In
the
the
whole.
subconscious.
So there's no area when you engage with Christ with your subconscious,
Mm.
your whole consciousness. There's no such thing as unconscious anymore. There's no
Yeah.
area you can't access.
Yeah.
Everything is accessible with Christ.
Yeah. That's good.
But that's the part that's why I don't speak of that because I know Freud had a big thing about the unconscious. Like you can't get to it. It's a place that you can't touch. Well, for the uncorrupted, uninitiated with the relationship with Christ, I guess so. But with Christ as my guide, I can get anywhere in my brain and I can activate anything in my brain I need to.
I
And
think
that's the lifelong journey that we have.
that's why people, and this is just, are going into the psychedelic stuff, the shrooms and whatever,
Yep.
because it
Yep.
bypasses this and goes
Yep.
right into the subconscious. And they have those aha moments revealing
Mm.
this is the real me. And a lot of them are scared. I mean, it freaks them out because
Mm.
you know, this is what life I mean, it's what's really going on.
yeah, it changes the meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it physically changes the meat.
Well, it bypasses, it gets us past us trying to, somehow it numbs. The only way that I can describe it, it numbs whatever is blocking or opens the door or puts down the gates, the blinders that we've had on for so long, and it goes into the reality of who you are, and you're able to, and that's why they have so many encounters, because hello, that's where Yeshua is at.
So remember the Enoch and the Watchers?
Mhm.
So it messed me up. I was like, what? The Enoch and the Watchers taught him how to cut roots? What? What does that mean? Potatoes? The illicit spud? What's going on? What does that even mean? And one of the examples watching this Graham Hancock Ancient Apocalypse, ayahuasca is a combination of leaf and root. Individually, they're benign. They don't do anything. But together, they do something to the meat that opens up a doorway into the spirit, whatever you want to call it, the dark matter, the realm of the subconscious, the other side, the kingdom of God is at hand. You know, that it opens up an arena. And one of the hypotheses was that that is how the Watchers communicated with man, and that's how the demonic or the adversary locks in a communication. So Christ is that bridge for us, right? That, you know, my relationship with Yeshua, that's my bridge, so I'm protected. There are no badlands in that relationship, though the whole universe dimensions are open and available to me. But that's that cutting those roots. So not necessarily that that's evil, because there's plenty of examples of people going on mushrooms and having wonderful experiences,
Right. Yeah.
solving lifelong problems and making them happier. And if they come out of that loving, that's Yahweh. Whether they recognize him or not, they got a piece of him, and they're reflecting him in their own lives into the world. But without him, man, you run the risk. Now you may meet the wrong ones. You may meet them Watchers who are still looking to tear and destroy and consume, and now you've laid yourself bare, completely exposed, with no protection. I mean, and you know, for me, the subconscious, this came back up in believing this stuff since the realms opened up. Oh, you're heading out, Tina? What time is it?
That's nice.
It's 12 o'clock already.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Are we still recording? We still live?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
I just have to cut out. I have a hard stop because I have an appointment.
It's all
So
good.
I love you all. Continue until you're done.
Love you soon.
Love
Love you,
you.
Tina. But, you know, recognizing that belief, like I hear Ian and I say, okay, my conscious mind says, yeah, I want that. But my subconscious ain't there. And then, you know, believing something like that and then seeing my own behavior and seeing the difference. It's like, no, man, if you believe this, you wouldn't behave this way. And so I was tempted to make an enemy of that inner me. Like, you're causing me trouble. You're causing me grief. I want to believe this and, you know, tiptoe through the tulips of supernatural, you know, funland. But you're stopping me from believing this. Like, I say I believe it, but I find that it's not true. I have to look at my own actions and go, man, you ain't lining up to what you think you believe. Instead of making that enemy, loving that. Like, loving my self-conscious. Okay, all right. I love you. I accept you. And I love your neighbor as yourself. Is more than just loving the meat.
Mm-hmm.
It's loving my self-conscious. And then
That's where the power is. That's where 95% of the deal. It's like the power plant.
yeah.
I mean, it's just like it. Yeah. It's just like, okay, all right. All right. And then that's your, you know, that's your soul body. Okay. And then you're wrapped up in your like spirit body.
Yeah.
Like down the spinal, really wrapped up nice. Get this bioplasmatic electromagnetic thing on the outside. I mean, guys, we're freaking bulletproof. I mean, so this is where, yeah, just focusing on the alignment of just your I mean, yeah, and it's just,
and we ain't got to figure this out. That's the beauty too. It's like,
huh.
I can feel Yeshua like, look, don't worry about the ingredients. Let's bake a cake. All right, we can figure it out later. Like, it's not a problem. Don't sweat it. Because for me, that quiet spot that Jeff was talking about surprised the heck out of me, because I found it without looking for it. And, you know, obviously it was a moment, but it's vacillated since then. But it was like in November 2019 when I prayed my family under Psalm 91. I was consciously saying, hey, I want that. And
Yeah.
I'm believing that there's something very significant in actively putting myself there,
Yeah.
not just seeing it as words on a page
Yeah.
and condemnation for not living right.
Yeah,
There's
stay
most
right
of
there.
scripture.
Yeah,
But
stay right there for a second too. It's because and I read it this morning too. That's why some people when they go down the path consciously, now I understand. Read a book on positive thinking. They've done all the heavy lifting and it just didn't work.
right,
Because they didn't realize the subconscious is where the deal has to really take place. You tried to do it in your 5%. You didn't realize you need to get in touch with your 95% self and the subconscious. And when you get it assimilated right there, it will manifest itself in the 5% in your conscious mind.
right.
And that's where the magic happens. And that's where, because it's like I knew, and whatever positive think the power of positive thinking. And I remember just like when I heard that book, it made me so angry. I think it was in the 90s because my 30s sucked, right?
Thought it was such bull
Like, man,
crap.
I raised 4 kids, man. You know what? Positive thinking. I just need some freaking relief. I don't need a
Right.
pause, go do a mantra or something, and my life is going to change. I knew it wasn't going to work. And the Lord saying, dude, you don't need to do that. So it's um I just think this is the power that's coming to us, the awareness of just because it's I'm even to like when we think about our own brain, or even the 50 trillion cells at the cellular level, the membrane. I think what we're experiencing in the physical is an expression of who he is and what he is in the spiritual. So I'm like, Lord, I kind of think like this whole universe, because you're outside of your creation, but I got to think it kind of resembles something like a cell, and
True.
it's got the receptor and the effector, and then you just speak a word, and it's like that's kind of like now you guys, when you get the Fibonacci and the mathematics, and we're seeing the creation and the symmetry. I'm like, Lord, I think this is like an expression of like one of the diamonds in like part of your skin in your body.
Yep.
So it's like, because you're God and you're trying to get yourself into more of us, where we're like trading, where we're like, we want more of you, but we just want more of who we really are, which is you.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So how does this work?
Well,
Wait a
and
minute. You saying that I'm you and you're me?
Mm.
Wait a minute. This is getting really good.
and that's why I don't think.
I'm thinking like, so I'm God. Like, wait a minute.
Yes.
I'm Elohim, but I'm not Elohim, but I'm Elohim.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because before we were formed, we were in the thought of God.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
big deal, man.
We were
I mean,
part of him. He took himself and created all that there is. Because there wasn't anything there wasn't the toolbox list of ingredients to bake the cake without him. Like that, he was everything. So it even makes sense. And that's I think persuasion versus invitation. You can't persuade me to this. You can invite me.
Mm-hmm.
so this,
You can persuade someone to live to a standard. I can persuade you to stop drinking, smoking, and looking after women. All right, I can persuade you to do that. I maybe compel you by certain means as well, because the punishment or the risk is not worth it. So I can persuade you to action, this only works with invitation. I can't persuade you to this because you have to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
well, here's a thought. So something happened a couple of weeks ago with an election, and I think
Mhm.
it was a result of
I heard there was one.
energetically constructive interference, destructive interference. These are real deals, right? Waves, particles, which way the electron's going to spin up, spin down. this is what's happening right now. So what I'm noticing is there are two streams of thought on the planet. Things are about to get really, really freaking good. And then the other thought is things are going to get really, the religious, the apocalypse. I'm still hearing it. It's just that it's like you guys, you want a nuclear warhead to go off. You can't wait because you're desiring and you're imagining. And I think energetically, there are two things going to be true at the same time.
Sure.
And so that's why I'm saying, I'm like, you know what, Lord, I don't know how all this stuff is going to play out here in the physical, but here's a hill that I'm worth living on. I'm going to take energetically everything, and I'm going to be that facet of the diamond in the skin of your being and essence. And that's all. That's a hill worth living on. And that's what we need to be doing. We don't know what Trump's going to do, not going to do. Is Trump going to, but energetically, I'm not going to get in my subconscious. I wonder if he's going to get assassinated. I'm sure. Can you imagine? Imagine if they listen, if you think about it enough, be careful what you think on. You just might get what you don't really want.
It matters.
But you gave the dust in your subconscious permission, and where the balance of scales, and Yahweh says, okay, give them what they want. So this is like energetically, this is like phenomenal.
Well, the disciples thought there was going to, an apocalypse was necessary.
Yeah.
They thought an apocalypse was necessary.
Yeah. So think about the subconsciousness of the planet.
They're wrong.
Think about the subconsciousness of the planet, which is going to drive the consciousness of the planet to deliver a result. So what we have to do as mature sons is we've got to destroy, take down, pull down, piss on, dunghill on any thought that's not of our Father here below the sun, and take authority and bring the judgment and the justice however he wants to do in his way. And that's what Lord, keep plucking out the dark ones. Yep. Keep revealing, keep taking the dark ones got to get off the planet. No, not listen. We got, the newest thing? Well, I guess it's not a new thing. What's the asteroid that's coming? In 3 years, we're done.
Apophis.
Yes, Apophis. It's on its way, bro. It's coming back for another round. I'm just like,
Let's
really?
all go up and just move it out of the way. Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me, Lord? This is how it is. Don't look up and boom. This is how, this is the fire on the earth and everything gets burnt up. How about piss off? How about burn everything up that's not of you inside of us, your children? Yep. Pluck out the darkness in us, burn it all up. And Apophis can kick my schmug in a hug. Not happening.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's ascend and let's go take care of Apophis.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't know what happened, but it took a freaking slight right turn like a year and a half before. We're saved.
Well,
I mean, listen, brothers and sisters, talking about this is what the bunkers. This is what Jamie, that military guy. It's like, you know what, dude? I'm not digging your apocalyptic, everything military, what's going on, the freaking aliens. All you jabrones can kiss my awake ass. I'm not buying what you're selling. And I want to know, Justin Abraham to do a walk and talk about the U.S. and the U.K., the prophets. But I think Mike Parsons in the middle of that shit show. But anyhow.
It is interesting.
Give me some news.
Let's
talk some gossip.
So, is there there's a beef between prophet groups?
Are we live?
We're still live. Oh, yeah.
We're still live.
We're still live. Yeah.
Oh shit! I thought we were in the green room. All right, love you guys.
Oh, I was like,
hey, I'm from Boston. Hey, I'm not from here.
We ain't gotta hide. This is relationship. Now y'all getting it real. No show, baby. This is just us just riffing.
Dang.
That's what
Yeah.
that's
So what's
what we
going? All right.
sold.
So let's just keep going. All right. So I'll dial it back. I apologize. No, I don't.
Nope.
I apologize. It's
No,
all good.
I don't know the whole thing. I just saw it the other day. There's somebody that gave a word about if Trump wins,
Oh, okay.
or loses. One way he's the savior. The other way he's basically bringing
Oh,
in the, he's the
Antichrist.
mark of the, yeah.
piss off.
It was, and so a group of prophets here in
Yeah. Whatever.
the States, basically they never name names, which they never name the name,
Of
or they
course,
didn't.
yeah, but to
That's good.
protect the innocent. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and we don't want
so
to attack
they
these people.
no,
That's okay.
but
So
they
noted and
put it out
witnessed.
there like,
Okay.
we a group of prophets, we don't agree with this, and that's basically what it is right now. It's
So
out
the
there.
U.S. group is saying he's the Messiah. The U.K. group is saying he's the Antichrist.
No, they're just not in agreement with the word, and I mean, I saw it on somebody's page, and yeah, I read it, and I'm like, well, this is kind of, yeah, it's whatever opinion you have about the U.S. and Trump.
I see.
It's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So is
All
this a
right.
community subconscious? I mean, we're talking about a yeah, a community subconscious.
Yep.
Could you say that's prophecy or a lot of it?
probably, yeah.
There's prophecy that is absolutely a word from the Father,
Hmm.
discerning what's of the Father and what's of the hearts of men is a work
Hmm.
like that. You got to do that because that I ran into that. It's like, oh my word, who's right? These people all seem really sincere
Yeah.
and committed, and they believe what they're saying is a word of the Lord. And I, as a sovereign being, one, I'm not dependent on either of those words, right? Like, I guess that's the big thing. That's the big takeaway. Is like I'm not dependent on any of those words. But in practice, okay, who do I believe? Because that's going to affect my subconscious if I'm not careful. That's going to change the way I behave.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if I it all blends together. But for
Right.
clarity of conversation, we can at least
Yeah.
talk about it. Like, okay, so
Yeah.
that's the beef.
Yeah.
Is some people believe this
Well,
way.
yeah, yeah, and that's where I think, you think about the energy that comes in when you take in below the stuff news and what's happening in the planet and all this, and
Yep.
all of that energy is coming in.
Yep.
It's energy.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to do is just frame it up in a sense, okay, all right, I see this. So how do I control this energy that I possess, waking up to who we are? How can I impact family, friends, those we love? How can I take it out and stay in that state of being, and I think that's the play. I mean, I think that, and so for those that are like, left, right, half brained, whole brained, I mean, it is just like, yeah. And again, it just comes down to energy, frequency, vibration, loving big love, practice loving big.
Yeah, that's the above the sun
Drop a couple
perspective.
party bombs every once in a while just to be authentic, to throw it in there and spice it up. Oh, kiss my
That
schmug
dude
in a
right there.
hug.
That's the above the sun perspective,
Yeah.
right? Because I can be rocked by the prophetic world saying one
Yeah.
thing or another. I'm in conflict because that's below the sun to an extent, at least as far as how I receive it. I'm not saying it's below the sun how they received it.
Yeah.
That's not for me to judge.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know them. But the above the sun perspective, you just laid it out. Like whatever prophet said, I get to choose how that enters my biosphere, my subconscious, my belief structure. I'm protected from believing one side or the other. I don't have to worry about that. I can take it in. Okay, Yahweh, wow, Yeshua, that's a big deal. Which one is which? Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. I got you. I got you. Now I can lean into that. Okay, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Because again, it's speculation and fear on the heels of either one of those statements.
Mm,
If I believe the positive is good, what if it's not? If I
mm.
believe the negative's bad, well then I got to prepare for that too. And it's like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm secure right where I am.
That's good. Good
Yeah,
word.
yeah,
bro.
we're still we were continuing a conversation and thought, why cut it? This is it's extra, and we're about to wrap.
Welcome to the
So, yeah, we just solved the whole UK US prophecy deal. Chris
Yeah.
took care.
Nice. Oh, I missed out on that one.
It was nice. So
Just hug. Just hugs and kisses.
and
Mm.
Justin
Mm.
Abraham, I love it. Pumpkin pie and tea.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Pumpkin
Yeah,
pie and
pumpkin.
coffee. Just come over. Whether you want whipped cream or not doesn't matter. Just come over and
oh,
let's just.
that was his response.
Yeah, that was the whole
Yes.
thing. Yeah, it was just like just have a piece of pumpkin pie.
Hey, I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good place.
It's hard to stay mad at
Just-
love for a long time. I
I
mean,
know.
it's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, when most of this stuff hasn't happened yet.
I know.
We're not even dealing with things that are physically manifested. Most of this stuff is stuff that might happen, but hasn't happened yet. I don't want to give. I know in my personal life, in my individual sphere, I already give too much credence to those. All right, I'm in the process of mushing those out. It hadn't even happened yet. That's fear. Fear by definition is about something that doesn't exist. you know. Anyway, all right.
Perfect love casts it out.
That's right. You have no place here. Get out of my subconscious, you sucker.
All right, love y'all.
Yeah. Blessings,
You
everybody.
guys have been amazing. Thanks for staying with us.
That's right.
stay in the way, stay in the path.
That's right.
Some pumpkin pie and some tea.
This is really the
Have
awakening.
some great. By the way, we're not going to be on next week.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Lots to be
Enjoy
thankful
families.
for.
Enjoy friends.
Yes.
We'll catch you on the backside of the holidays.
Eat them leftovers. Don't step on the scale.
All right.
That's
Transmute that food. Make
right.
it
Love
work
y'all.
for you, not against you.
Inputs and outputs, baby.